Hello everybody, this is Father Anthony Manipella with Ciao, Padre, episode number 3 already. It's been so much fun doing this, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. Some of you have asked, Father, when did you start having a desire to cook? When did it all begin for you? Well, you're not going to believe it, but I was 4 years old. And my mother had suffered a hemorrhage. She had just given birth to my baby brother. So she was pretty sick. So my oldest sister, Ellie, used to watch me and my sister. And so one day I was insistent that I wanted lamb chops. And my sister Ellie said, you can't cook the lamb chops. They're in the freezer and you can't do it. Of course, I wouldn't take no for an answer. So there I go. We had these little chairs, you know. My sister had a set of playhouse chairs and table. They used to play. So I took that little chair and I put it, of course, I was always, what do we call that? Vertically challenged, even at 4. You can imagine what a little tyke I was at 4. So I get on the chair, open the freezer, take out the pack of lamb chops, and go to the stove, get on the chair again on the stove, and I start to fry the lamb chops. And of course my sister Ellie, she couldn't get over it. And she says to me, that's when your career started as a chef. So I've always been doing this all this time. So today we're going to make simple recipes. Most Italian recipes are simple. The thing is that you have to know what goes with what. That's the problem that sometimes people have. For example, you can't put, like in some cuisine, pineapples when you're making tomato sauce or ragu. You can't mix certain herbs, for example, cumin, cardamom, those kind of spices with Italian food. It simply don't go. So that's part of it, knowing what to put with what. But the Italian food has been so popular all over the world because it is so simple. And putting the right ingredients together, with the right amount of cooking, with a lot of tender loving care, you get something precious. Unlike French food, which is filled with lots of cream sauces, etc. Of course, we do know from our history it was Catherine de' Medici who took her Italian chefs with her to France when she married the king. And so the French can say how much they want about their cuisine, but it originated from the chefs in Italy with Catherine de' Medici. I'm getting off the track right now, but what I'm going to make today is called spiedini, S-P-I-E-D-I-N-I, spiedini, veal rollets. And I'm using veal that I bought on sale because I never buy veal unless it's on sale. It's rather costly, but you get a lot for your buck. Like one old pastor told me many years ago, listen, Anthony, when you buy veal cutlets, there's no bone and there's no fat. You get the bang for the buck. And it's true. It's all edible, every single part of your veal cutlet. So what I like to do is pound it down, put them between 2 sheets of wax paper, which prevents the veal cutlet, the veal, from ripping when you pound it down with the pounder, see? And you put it between 2 sheets of wax paper. I want to go over the ingredients with you. Breadcrumb, Italian seasoned breadcrumb. Italian cheese, you can use either Parmigiano or Pecorino Romano. Onion. A little pork fat cut in little teeny cubes. A little tomato paste. Toothpicks. And bay leaves. These are the simple ingredients to make these lovely veal rollets. Right now I am frying the onion, sauteing the onion in a pan with about maybe 1/3 cup of olive oil, 1/3 to 1/2 cup. And we saute the onions real nice so they get soft. You don't want to burn them now because they'll get bitter. And then you want to see that, Mr. Cameraman, you see? We're sauteing them nice. And while those are sauteing, I'm going to cut these veal cutlets in half because they're kind of big for our purposes to make the veal rollatini. Because the one thing we want to make sure is that they cook quickly in the oven. So I cut them in half. Depending on the size of the cutlets that you buy, you can cut them in half or you could leave them whole if they're not so big. And I'm going to check on my onion now. And into the onion, I'm going to put a little bit of the tomato paste in a moment. So we might say like a tablespoon of tomato paste. And we'll put that in there now. I have a little teaspoon, so I'm putting 2 of them in. Now, in an Italian kitchen, there are certain things you must have. One of them is a wooden spoon. And especially even for today with the Teflon items that we use, a wooden spoon is perfect. The wooden spoon is used in so much of Italian cooking, making sauce, ragu, making all kinds of things, sauteing things. And so we're going to get this nice and fused together with delicious flavors. And then into this mixture, we want to cook it a little bit because we don't want the tomato to have a raw taste. So we cook it a little bit, let it amalgamate with the delicious extra virgin olive oil. There's nothing so beautifully smelling as there is fried onions. Notice I didn't put any garlic in this. Sometimes people say, oh, the Italians, all they use is garlic. Not true. Only on the things where it goes with what you're making. And that's what I mentioned before. The things have to go together. I have an expression that I say when people want to add something to it. No, it doesn't go. It don't go. Don't put it in. And they'll ruin a traditional recipe that maybe is 200 or 300 years of age by adding some stupid spice or some other ingredient that does not go. And they ruin the food. Now I'm going to take this breadcrumb, and I'm going to, it's about 1.5 cups of breadcrumbs, regular Italian flavored breadcrumbs, and I'm going to put it in here and mix it with the onion and the tomato. And depending how it is, you might have to put more tomato. Looks like I could use a little more, which I'm going to do. Hold on. Sometimes you think it's enough, and it's not. That's the joy of cooking. You have to kind of experiment. Even when you know the recipe, you add, you can't subtract much, but you can add ingredients. And this is what we're doing now. We're getting this all nice and mixed up together. And you'll have that flavor of the onion, the flavor of the tomato, and the fusion of all of them together. And we're going to let this cool down a bit. And then I'm going to add at least 1/2 cup of cheese. Now, if you use Parmigiano cheese, remember that's a much milder cheese. So you usually have to use a little more, or if you like it more mild, you get that cheese. I prefer the Pecorino Romano because it has a lot more flavor, and as Emerald used to say, it brings it up a notch. And that's why I like to use the Pecorino Romano cheese. Also, you can see I probably need a little bit more breadcrumb. It might need, let me just check it. Just a little more to absorb some of the olive oil. But what makes it, of course, when you take all of this and you add the cheese. Cheese is an amazing thing that really zips up so many recipes, as you well know. So we're going to leave this here now. I'm going to let it cool down a bit. And while I'm letting it cool down, I'm going to put it on the side. And I'm going to start the other recipe I want to teach you. And this is very, very simple. You know, in these days that people are trying to make ends meet, even before the pandemic, you know, people love to get takeout. Now, don't get me wrong, I love takeout. But some people complain that they can't make ends meet. They have a family, there may be 5 or 6 people in the family. Well, if you go to takeout every single day, by the end of the week, there goes your paycheck, or a lot of it. So you can make meals that cost hardly anything. So what I'm going to make now is spaghetti, linguini with peas. Now you're probably thinking, oh, linguini with peas? So what I've done is I've taken a bag of peas, frozen peas, and what I do is now I'll put them under hot water and let them defrost a little bit with the hot water. So they soften up a bit. And okay, so the first thing we're going to do, as usual with Italian cuisine very often, is we're going to put olive oil in a pot. About 1/4 cup of olive oil. And then we're going to take a big, I like the Vidalia onions. Put the light under the stove. And you peel your onion into the olive oil. It's amazing what onion can do. It's so, I don't know what we do without them. It's like garlic. What will we do without that herb? And tomatoes and, gosh, so many other beautiful herbs and things that God's given to us. Really, it's amazing. I often wonder, how do these people, whoever was the first person to use a tomato to decide to make it into a sauce, or an onion, or garlic, who were the first people that discovered this? That must be a certain science. I don't know what it's called, but I'd love to find out more about it. So you slice your onions into half moons into the pot with the oil, and you're going to saute these onions until they get nice and soft. You can also add garlic to this recipe if you like it. We never did. Mommy and Grandma never added garlic to this, but it's fine if you do. It doesn't alter the flavor all that much. And so we're going to put a nice big onion, a Vidalia onion if you can find them, if you can get it. We're going to raise that heat. And I'm going to get my trusty old wooden spoon. And we're going to saute this, the onion in here. So we want to do that. And now I'm going to go back to my mixture here. And I'm going to add to it let's say a 1/2 cup of Italian cheese. And then I'll get my trusty wooden spoon and I'll mix it all together. This is the secret. You mix it all together. Now, if you're going to use Pecorino Romano cheese, you don't need to add that much salt, because Pecorino, as you know, is salt. It's a saltier cheese. Parmesan, not so much. So you can add a little salt. But I will add a little bit anyway, because without salt, things taste very bland. As you well know, those of you that can have salt, how much some of you really miss it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take, you have to do 2 or 3 things at once, don't you? So we're going to take our piece of veal cutlet, And I'm going to put it on here. And the first thing I'm going to put into it is a piece of this pork fat. Now you're saying, why are you doing that? Well, veal cutlets are very lean. They can be very dry if we don't do things to keep them moist when we cook them. So we put a little piece of pork fat, and then I take a handful of this mixture, hold it down like that. You can see that. And then you roll up your veal bird, if you will. And then we're going to take a toothpick. But before we put the toothpick, I forgot one thing. You see how you forget when you're getting old? I forgot I need some onions. Okay. So then I take a piece of onion. Now I already started to cook these, but you don't have, they shouldn't be cooked. And you take a bay leaf, a simple bay leaf, and you put it like this onto the veal bird, and you take a toothpick and you stick the toothpick into the onion through the bay leaf and out the other side. And then we're going to put it into a pan like this. You see? And I'm going to do a few more of them. So we take, once again, you take your mixture, and then you roll your veal bird. That's what the American called it, a veal bird. Don't ask me where they got that name from, but that's what they call it, the veal birds. So then you take your bay leaf and your onion. You can put the bay leaf first, the onion first, it doesn't really matter, and you close it up. Toothpick goes through, and you place it once again on the tray. The one thing that you're going to have to do is, I forgot the veal fat, the pork fat in that, you see? Now I'm going to put, once again, this mixture, and we're going to turn our veal bird over, put the onion, a piece of bay leaf over it, and your toothpick goes inside of it. This is a Sicilian recipe. Sicilians they were dominated by the Arabs for several hundred years. And so their cuisine has been influenced by many, many different peoples. French, Spanish, Arabs, Greeks. So that's why Sicilian cuisine is so unique and so special. Now I'm going to make another one. And meanwhile my onion is sauteing for my pasta with peas. So we put a piece of pork fat in there, I mustn't forget that. And you're going to roll up the veal bird like this. And we'll put in the bay leaf and a piece of onion. Now let me check out my onions over here. So you can make your spaghetti with peas on a Friday night, during Lent especially, and you have a family, a large family. You don't know what to make. What should I make? They don't like fish. They don't like that. What am I going to give them? Make them spaghetti with peas. Actually, I like to use linguini, not spaghetti. I like linguini. One of my favorite pastas, but really you could use any pasta. But I find that linguini really works well. Put a little more of this mixture, and you're going to roll it up. Very easy. Get your onion and your bay leaf, your toothpick, and you're all set. What we're going to do then is we're going to finish these up, and then I'm going to drizzle olive oil and salt and pepper over them and bake them for about 20 minutes. You can put a little bit of either chicken broth or water on the bottom of the pan, very little, just the bottom of the pan. Not a lot, you don't want to boil them. But to keep them a little bit moist, and the olive oil that you'll drizzle on top of them will help. And you should eat them, as soon as they come out of the oven, and it's very well served with a nice, delicious salad. The other thing, in Italian cuisine, those of you that are not Italian, we normally have courses. We usually never put 3 or 4 things on one plate. Like if you go to an American restaurant, they'll put the peas and carrots here, they'll put the potato here, they'll put the meat there, the salad there. No. We have what we call courses, primo piatto, secondo piatto. And so, usually we start off with a little pasta, or some kind of a special antipasto, which is cheese with some cold cuts maybe, salami, prosciutto. And then we have our pasta dish. And so today we're making our pasta just because we do need carbohydrates and protein in our diet. And that helps, and it also serves the purpose of feeding and getting the family full, so you don't have to serve them so much extra meat. You see, this was all part of when people in Italy were very poor. So pasta was a great supplement, and I dare say it's the same with Hispanics as well. They use rice, for example, or the Irish use potatoes, because those things fill us. And then they would serve the meat, not a huge piece, maybe 2 of these little veal birds, maybe 1, with a nice, delicious salad. And then for dessert, when I was a boy, I used to say, Mommy, but why aren't we having pies like the people across the street, or cakes? We never have dessert, Mommy. And Mommy used to say, listen, honey, we have dessert every night. I said, what? We have fruit. That's true. Italians love their fruit after they have their meal. This is why doctors say the Mediterranean diet is the perfect diet. We don't eat huge cakes and pies. Huge desserts were usually on the holidays, or maybe a Sunday. So we have different desserts for different holidays, Christmas and Easter, other different feast days, like St. Joseph Day, we have special Sfingi or the Zeppole di San Giuseppe. And so our dessert really is fruit. And when I say fruit, I mean fresh fruit. And they'll usually serve it on a plate with a knife. Sometimes they'll put a piece of cheese with it as well. So once I saute those onions there, I'm going to then take the peas, and we're going to drop the peas into this sauteed onion and olive oil. I want to get the onions a little bit more cooked. They're a little hard. And that's the secret with the onions. And then I'm going to take the peas and put them into the pot. Remember, I've warmed the peas up by putting them under hot water. And now I'm going to add to this some water. So, let's see how much water. So I'm going to add about a glass of water, a little bit more maybe, so that you cover the peas with the water. And then you bring it to a boil, and you add your salt, how much you like. Different people like different amounts. I'd say half a teaspoon, maybe more, see how you like it. And then I would add some black pepper. You can also, if you like, to add red pepper. The Italian forte, the red pepper flakes, goes very well with this. But some people don't like that. I happen to like it, but not really hot. I have a priest friend that eats the the hot peppers. He put so much on the pasta that as he's eating, the tears are rolling down his face. And I'm saying, but how could you enjoy that? You're crying. Oh, I like it. Okay, then eat it. So I'm going to make a few more of these. And then we're going to, I hope that I've answered. If you have any questions, Dr. Phelps, my camera person. Does anybody have questions, Doctor? Dr. Phelps is my music director, but he does a million other things too. He's very helpful. I don't know, I would never have been able to do all the streaming and all that without him, because I don't know the first thing about it. So, if anybody has any questions out there, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer them as I continue to make my little rotini. Anybody, Dr. Phelps?
Not yet.
I want to also let you know that we'll be having a May crowning with Father Ciao and I in church on May 1st at, I believe, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the beginning of the month of Our Blessed Mother. And also, we're coming up to the Feast of St. Gianna, which is April the 28th, and it's a Tuesday. We're going to have Mass at 7 p.m. in the evening to honor our patron saint.
So Father Eva wants to know, when is the next Father Anthony spaghetti dinner?
Well, we have not decided yet because we don't know. I wish I could tell you about we have an annual delicious pasta dinner, and usually I serve around 1,000 dinners. I mean, it's really popular. And it's pasta with meatballs and sausage, just like I showed you in my first episode. That's how I make it. Of course, it's always harder to cook for a huge crowd, but I've done it so many years now, I've learned how to more or less do it. So at that pasta dinner, we have we serve that, and we serve also a delicious homemade Caesar salad dressing and salad. We serve a delicious salad and bread and what else? Desserts and coffee and all kind of desserts. Our people make delicious Italian cheesecake. I put the recipes in the bulletin, and they're great at baking. And we have the delicious Italian cheesecake together with, we also make the zeppelis as well, fried zeppeli.
There's a question from Karen who missed the first part and asked if you could repeat what the stuffing is made of.
The stuffing is made of, you fry the onion, you take an onion and you saute it in olive oil, and then you add, after it gets sauteed and nice and soft, then you add breadcrumbs, and then after the breadcrumbs, you let it cool down a bit, and then add about a cup of Pecorino Romano cheese, mix it together, and then you start stuffing your veal. And what you have in the veal would be the veal, a little piece of this pork fat. You don't really have to have it, but it keeps it moist. And then you roll it up, put a bay leaf and an onion, and stick a toothpick through it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drizzle a little olive oil. Meanwhile, this has come to a boil. I'm going to lower it. And you want to cook your peas until they're nice and soft. Nice and soft. And then what you do is you cook your pasta. Now, whenever you make something Italian that is more on the dry side, like not sauce or gravy or ragu, but like something like this that's without any tomato sauce, you always save about a cup of the hot water that the pasta was cooked in. So that if when you put the pasta and the peas in a bowl and mix it together, if you find that it's a little dry, you add a little pasta water at a time to the consistency that you like, and then put your cheese on top and mix it together. You'll see that the kids will lick their fingers. It's delicious. So this is what I would do here. Of course, I have this clumsy can, which is not the best, but I will drizzle a little olive oil over the top of the spiedini, and And I'll put salt and pepper as well. Since I really didn't put any salt or pepper into the mixture, I'll put a little right on top. And I'll put a little pepper as well. Normally I like the other pepper, but this is all right, just a little bit. Some people don't like pepper. That's the great thing about Italian cuisine. There are certain things you don't have to put. You don't have to put pepper or hot pepper in your food. It's to your taste. Some people like it, some don't. You know, this is the way it is in life. Different strokes for different folks, as they say. So here is our stuffed veal spadini alla Siciliana. Notice the Arab domination influence. What is that? The bay leaf. That is a very Arabic spice, or herb, I should say. And I just realized I forgot to put my onion and my bay leaf on that. And you say, well, what kind of a flavor does it give it? Gives it a very subtle flavor. And this is another thing about spices. You never want to overpower your food with spices. Spices are meant to enhance, not to overkill. Even with garlic, for example. People say, I love garlic. They put huge amounts. You don't need to put huge amounts. It's a subtlety that enhances the cuisine. Yes, Dr. Phelps.
There's two questions. One from Karen. She would like to know if you could use chicken to do this.
Well, I think chicken, if you could, but chicken will be even more dry than the veal, so you have to make sure you could, but you have to slice them very thin.
And Stephen would like to know if these recipes will be available in written form.
Well, eventually I hope to. People have been bugging me since I'm a pastor many years to do a cookbook, and I've always started, but you know, when you have other responsibilities that are more important, like the spiritual lives of our people, it gets pushed to the back, gets pushed to the back. And I'm doing these cooking shows now simply because I have more time, since everybody's locked in, including us, and also because I thought that being home like this, we want some extra diversion. We have Mass and we have different things, but how about a cooking show? People have asked me for a long time to. And I like doing it. I thought it would be a kick for me to do it. In fact, I just got notified yesterday by the diocese that they want to do this on the diocesan live stream. They want me to do a cooking show in May, so I'll do a cooking show. And then with the spiritual on May the 1st, I'm going to have our May crowning. Me and Father Sale will be the crowners. There won't be any people there, but we'll have the rosary, the litany, the consecration of our parish under Our Lady's protection, and the crowning of Mary. So those are some of the up-and-coming events. Because I do not want to abandon my people. I want to be with you. I want to stay connected to you. And this is how I do it. You see me, but I don't see you, but I imagine you. I imagine you watching at home in front of your computers. So this is the meal for today. Remember, you're going to cook your pasta, your spaghetti or linguine, put it in a bowl, then throw in that mixture of peas, lots of Italian cheese, mix it up. Oh, it's a little dry. Take a little of the pasta water that you've saved and pour a little bit in at a time and mix it. And then season to taste. You might want more pepper, you might want more salt. Just remember, you can't take salt away or pepper once you put it in. I always rather err by giving less and then adding later if we have to. So these are my two recipes today. I hope to be with you again. I have many other recipes, but this was the one we did today. I'm going to ask God to bless you. I'll bless the Mother to protect you and keep you safe during this pandemic time. And know that I miss all of you. May Almighty God bless you in the name of the Father and of the Son and Holy Spirit. Descend on you and remain with you forever and ever. Amen. Happy cooking, everybody. Ciao, Padre.